Yo, it's your boy Trader Joe Fantasy Gorilla Show in the building, and I got something special for y'all. New series right now on Fantasy Sleeper. It's on the Sleeper app, Fantasy Football. This is for auction strategy, and I am totally pumped to have my boy AkiRed, AkiRed. That's the handle on Sleeper. If you're on the Sleeper app, chances are you have seen this guy. If you're in any league that's worth anything, AkiRed is a shark that just cruises the platform. And he's going to join me today to kind of introduce this series that we're doing on auction strategy, fantasy football auction strategy on the Sleeper app. But this goes through, pretty much any kind of, the strategy itself is universal. But this series is specifically for my boys and ladies on the Sleeper app. Aki, have you ran into any females on the app yet?
No, I haven't. Have you?
Not really, not like intentionally. I mean, they might be lurking behind, like kind of anonymous names or something like that. If you're a lady out there listening to this, holler back at your boy, right? Because it ain't supposed to be like some misogynistic thing. Fantasy football is something everybody can rock to. Got a lot of females that rock fantasy football. Get on the Sleeper app and rock with us. Hey, my boy AkiRed, what's good, homie? How you doing, brother?
Good Trader Joe. Appreciate the intro, man. Let's get to business here. Let's talk strat. Let's talk drafts. Let's
Awesome. Well, how many leagues are you in, Aki, on the Sleeper app? Would you say, if
shoot,
you know off
man.
the top of your head?
So let me give a little intro, right? Last year was my first year in Sleeper. I started off with a cool 10 dynasty leagues, and now I'm up to 70 dynasty leagues going into the year, and we're not even halfway in the off season.
Wow,
Yeah.
70 leagues. Man, I mean, that's crazy. I'm like, I would say on Sleeper, you said 1 year. Last year was your first year
Yeah.
on
Yep.
Sleeper. Yeah, last year was my first year on Sleeper too. Didn't go quite as crazy. See, I thought I was going crazy. I was up to like 8 or 9 leagues last year on Sleeper. And then this year, and I also play on other platforms. Fantrax
Yeah.
is my other main one for, are you on any other platforms or just Sleeper?
I like to do redraft on Yahoo, and actually I just joined this new one called what's it called? League Tycoon. Have you heard of League
Ah,
Tycoon?
yeah, I've heard of it. I've heard of it.
Interesting. Just
Slow auction. Do they have slow auction on League
yeah, they have
Tycoon?
slow auction and they have salary cap
Okay.
all
Okay.
built in.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh yeah, the salary cap is built in. That's why I was looking at it for slow auction, and I was like, dang, the freaking salary cap is built in. Like, so you gotta
yeah.
do cap, right?
But you gotta pay $10 to activate your team. So that just goes to League Tycoon. You don't get that
Okay.
money.
Okay.
So
Well, I mean, that is what it is. I mean,
yeah,
hey, at the end of the day, we don't play this stuff for money anyway.
yeah,
I mean, even if we
exactly.
won like every single, like if we won all of our leagues, I guess that might pay for it. But it's like still would be like $5 to $10 an hour. I mean, we spend a lot of time on this stuff. You know
Exactly,
what I mean?
man. Yeah, that's why we got to build out some content, right?
Ah, that's what we're trying to do. I mean,
Yeah.
for this is for my sleeper heads, and and also this goes across platform, like I said. So whatever you're playing on, if you're doing a dynasty auction draft, or really kind of an auction draft in general, a lot of these concepts that we're going to talk about throughout this series can apply to you. But this is for our sleeper heads. So to start off with an auction, and look, one more thing I want to say, like somebody like Aki is the expert. A lot of times you're gonna turn on, and I don't want to smash people in the fantasy media community, but a lot of these talking heads out here are professionals with a couple of leagues, 5 to 10 leagues. You know, you'd rather get somebody in the trenches like Aki who has 60, 70 leagues. I have what, 24 leagues right now, and I commish 24 on sleeper, and I commish, I don't know, about half of them or whatnot. And I think I'm still, these guys who I'm going to have on the show, who I'm hosting, like I'm straight learning from. My first auction that I had with these guys, it's like I spent way too much on Josh Allen. I'm
Swift.
thinking that I'm
Yeah.
killing it. You know what I mean? But you got to be humble. You have to be humble. Like I'm watching these guys and I'm looking at their teams. And my first auction with them, I got my stars. I had no strategy. I just went and shot. I got like 8 first rounders or something like that, and that's or like 5 first rounders, and that's it. And so I'm looking at these guys' teams like Aki's team. I'm like, okay, well, this is not going to compete with them. I'm going to break it down instantly. I'm cashing all this in year one rebuild, bam. But then I studied what they did, and right now I would say I hang with y'all, right? You
Oh
know,
yeah, oh yeah.
a little
Hey,
bit.
you've come a long way in the last month, man. Your strategy and your methodology has changed a lot. I like it. You
There's a
know.
lot to it, right? But you got to
Yeah.
be humble. I got to learn from. See, if I didn't learn from cats like you and Stanley Chad, who's like the GOAT strategist, you know, on there. Deezonators is going to be on this on the series. My boy, Big Bopper, coming over from Fan Tracks as well. If I didn't learn from y'all, like we're making the content available. If I just thought that you know, if you come in puffed up and you think that you got something in the sleeper universe, you're gonna get eaten up, right? You're gonna get eaten up if you think you know everything. So off the bat, auction strategy. What is there like when you're heading into an auction specifically? What do you have in mind in terms of how you are going to approach it? When we're talking about an auction, it's usually the parameters of it on Sleeper that we set: $200 budget, you know, give or take, which is not the traditional $10 per player because we have rosters that are built out pretty deep. Deep leagues on Sleeper usually are going to have, you know, a 15 to 20 person bench and a starting lineup of, you know, 10 or 11 to 12, depending on how many flex you want to rock. So heading into that, you have that kind of uh, format. What are you looking to do in terms of what would you explain to somebody who's doing their first draft on strategy?
Hey, the number one thing, and this has happened to both me and Trader Joe, is don't blow your load right away because it's not going to be fun having no money and watching everyone draft all your favorite players. So, if you have like a top guy that you want, yeah, sure, get him, but see how the rest of the draft board fills out, save some money, and you'll thank yourself later. So,
Yeah,
for example, right? Uh, Trader Joe's first OG Gorilla League that I joined was 3RB, right? And I've never done a 3RB league before. So I had to see what the values were going for. And initially, you had what? You had Austin Eckler going for $33, DeAndre Swift 33, Jonathan Taylor 51. And I waited maybe 5-6 rounds, and I got Elliott for $13, right? And then Aaron Jones for 15, right? So I
yeah,
got almost 2 to 3 players for the price of one, right?
right. So yeah, like is so I guess is Eckler is good, but is he worth two Elliots? Is he, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So right, yeah. So and which one are you talking about here? Oh, this was the Sharkzilla, the $300 entry one.
No, the 151, the early Gorilla auction, the one
You were in early Gorilla. That's right. You've been in every single one of the Gorilla
except
shows, man.
Sharkzilla,
Oh, you didn't get in Sharkzilla. Sharks, man, that was like made for you, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
So early Gorilla. Yeah, I'm looking at this early Gorilla auction. You know, there was early Gorilla Snake too.
Yeah, to add to that though, I did
Yeah,
screw up a little bit in that draft, right? Because I had money left over, and you never want to have
yeah.
money left over in auction because it doesn't carry over into Fab. It's literally
Right.
worthless, right?
Well, I think our budget was a little bit skewed towards kind of what
Well,
we run.
yeah, it was 205, I
A two,
believe.
yeah, 205. Yeah, that was the
205.
one. Oh, yeah, that was the first one. I'm like thinking that I'm doing something with these guys. It's freaking hilarious. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna host this. I'm gonna rock this. And that was the one where I just had to trade everybody. And what I have: one, two, three, four, five, six. I have 5 first round picks in that league, and in 2023 and in 2024 I have 4 first round picks. And
Yeah,
trust
the
me,
next
my
few
first
years.
round pick's gonna be number one. It's gonna be because
Oh
this
yeah,
team sucks. Yeah.
no, you
Um
shaped it up pretty well, right? You trade
eh,
one of those QBs mid-season
eh.
for a second or first round pick. You know,
Oh, I could do a first year cash in with this lineup. I mean, but it'd probably be better to do a second because I mean dynasties, especially one, you know what I mean. Like you don't want to like join a dynasty that's dope and leave the league. Like, and you're there for a while, and to make it fun, you want to dominate, man. That's what
yeah,
it's about.
yeah.
It's not, you're not going to cash in against a pool of sharks like AkiRed. So you're there to have fun. You want to dominate. You want to be around for a while. So what he said was very important. It's the first thing is you want to make sure you don't shoot your wad to start with. You're going to see a lot of exciting opportunities to get all these first round picks. Like I could get Josh Allen, I could get Herbert, and I could get freaking Jonathan Taylor on my squad in this auction. Yeah, but what
Yeah,
you going to have left, right? They
yeah,
can't carry you, right? They can't. You have an 11-person roster. 3 slots can't carry you. Even if they max out in scoring, you have like 3, 4, 5, 6, or whatever. You're going to get smoked, right? So the next question that I have is, so how does it, like, do you go into an auction with the idea that you are going to get a certain amount of a position, or do you go for just value, or what do you do in terms of how you do that?
when I'm on my shit and I'm not trying to switch it up, meaning I'm not getting bored of my same strategy, which my main strategy is, I want value. I want to win now and I want to win later, right? I
Yeah,
don't want to rebuild and hope to win later. I want to win now and I want to compete every year, right?
right, right.
So in order to do that, you got to maximize value wherever you can, right? If
Mm,
you can get 7 wide receivers that finish in the top 25 instead of just 2 that finish in the top 10, you've maximized your value and your assets, right?
mm,
You could easily trade a wide receiver to a wide receiver needy team and get like a first round pick or a young player in a second, right? So
yeah.
then you're continuously multiplying your assets, right?
Mm,
So,
mm,
you know, to answer your question, going into a draft, I don't have a set list of players that I want to get, but there are
okay.
players that I avoid. Like, I'll tell you right now, I did not draft a single share of Dobbins or Godwin this season. Why?
Mm,
Because I think they're going to be injured to start off the season. Their value might be low. I see good opportunities to buy low on them mid-season. You know,
yeah.
Another thing I like to look at, and this you kind of got a time. I don't know how well this works, but once the NFL releases the schedule, you could kind of get a sense of strength of schedule, right? There are a bunch of analysts measure strength of schedule. You could see which players and which teams are going to start off hot, right? So you
Yeah.
could buy these players, and then maybe after a hot start, you could flip them. Like imagine if someone
That's
flipped,
fire.
yeah, it
Yeah,
gets a little bit deeper, but you
yeah.
could be strategic
Right.
on schedules too, right?
Yeah, in terms of trade. So yeah, and that, you brought up something that's I was gonna touch on is, does it matter like what kind, like do you factor what kind of player you are? Because there's a lot of players who are traders and who rely on the trade market to complete their roster, or and then there's players who don't. Like I don't see Stanley Chad doing a lot of trades, yet he's got fire roster. You don't have to be a trader.
Yeah, yeah.
Does it matter? Are you only looking for because you might have value on 8, 9 wide receivers, but only 2 running backs are really what you perceive value, for example, right? You're going
Absolutely.
to have to be active on trades then, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And I think to your point, I was doing startups with Stanley earlier this year, and he was a little bit more active, trading for players. But I think he likes to wait to where it's closer to the season because just in case injuries happen, right? But
Right.
like people like me and you, we love trading, right? We're
Right
trade
off the
addicts,
bat.
we're trade
Right off
junkies,
the bat.
right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
can't, to be honest with y'all, I can't go a single day without making a trade. You know,
Yeah, I mean, we're in I mean, that's the same. I mean, that's my handle is Trader Joe. It's like
yeah,
we trade because you play in trade chess. That's what it is. It's like which pieces go where,
yeah,
and the whole strategy behind that, right? To it, when I'm building personally, I I don't think about roster construction really that much at all. It's a secondary thing. I'm looking for what are the pieces that I can sell. That's really just what I'm looking for. What can I sell here, right? And so a piece like I did an auction recently, a podcast 4 version. We have a podcast auction series that we're doing directly for the show that we're going to pull content from, because we're going to be able to use people's handles and show you who bought what, and they're not going to be pissed off because they know going into it their handle can be used. So that's why we're doing this specific series. And in one of the podcast versions, I bought a share of CMC McCaffrey because he was $21, and that's pretty cheap for CMC.
oh, yeah.
So I was just bidding up $21, boom, got it. Nobody else bid, And so, but I just been having trouble selling them, and I was buying them at the beginning of the season, 90 days ago. I'm buying them for, you saw fat prices, 2 first and a piece, all that other kind of stuff, right? I'm like, I put it out first offer for 2 for FYPD auction fantasy draft first round picks, 23, 24. Or 23, 23 gets them, and there was no offers on CMC that way. And so for me, that's not a first round pick for me. That's not a fire player. You know what I mean? Like for my strategy.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point because, right, like I had Barkley and we're kind of working out a Barkley CMC swap, and
Yeah,
CMC almost goes a round and a half above Barkley, right? But I was
exactly.
having a hard time letting go of Barkley, who they both have their own injury concerns and they're fit, they don't have the best offensive teams. So it's hard, man. It's hard.
For our for what we were looking at in that deal, basically the value of CMC and Barkley are about the same.
Yeah.
When you think about it, they're about the same. Now, yeah, if you're doing a snake draft, you're not going to draft them in the same place because you're going to know that you can get Barkley a little bit later. But in terms of
Exactly.
just objective trade value, you're not going to want to give up Barkley and a nice piece for CMC. Even Barkley and something like Ingram. That's what I was saying. Give me Barkley, Ingram, for CMC. You're like,
Exactly.
you're not going to want to, and that's what value. That's why auction's so much better than snake. You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
I was hoping you would make that comment. I was like, that is why auction is the GOAT. Right.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And obviously the skill factor involved. You can come into a snake suck and still get a team. You're not going
Yeah.
to come into an auction suck and get a team. Or
That's
be
for
able to
sure.
fix your crappy squad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why auction is because it's going to give you more objective player values. So what in terms of auction strategy, one of the things that we were doing is kind of like we were naming strategies, and we gotta name your strategy. We got to get a name for
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah.
We got a
No.
name for Stanley's, right? It's just the big Stan,
See,
right?
mine's like I'll be honest. I learned a lot from Stan since last year. Right. I remember my first draft with him. I think I blew my wad on like Amar Jackson, Kyler Murray, and like 2 other pieces. Right.
Yeah,
And then over time, I learned how to get patient and be in control. Right. Don't let the
yeah,
draft take control of you. And I got to come up with the
yeah.
name, man. You're right. I got to come up
I
with
can
the.
hook you up. I can hook you up, and we should have done it before the because look, at the end of the day, it's like a modified Stan, or I don't know what it's because Aki goes when Stan goes into a draft, you know what he's going to do. It's basically like
Yeah.
he's going to be patient on you, and he's going to fill every single slot with value. Every slot's going to have value. Yours, I've seen you do that. You did that in our last draft, but I've
Yeah.
also seen you kind of go a modified stars and scrubs, but full. I've
Yeah.
seen your roster in many different shapes. But one thing that I haven't really seen from you is I haven't seen you out of money without resources to get
Yeah.
a full roster to work with on trades. So I don't know. Your style is kind of, man, that might be your style. Your style is like it's like kung fu that kind of like shifts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
kind of like morphs and
I
shifts and
like
stuff.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So my style is we called it the QB shop, the QB shop. And I talk about why I do that is because simply with Superflex, which is what what we're doing this for. So I should have said that at the beginning to show the main format that we're using is Superflex, 2 quarterback. And the reason why I use QB, why I call it QB shop, is I get as many quarterbacks as I can in value. Now, if I'm going into a draft and I'm trying to get as many quarterbacks as I can, but there's just no value on QB, I got to move styles. I can't
Yep.
force it, right? Because then it's gonna ruin it. I'm looking for in a pool full of sharks, you might get a slight edge. You're not going to get a giant edge. You might get a slight window, and your window can close is if other people, no one, Trader Joe's here, quarterbacks are going to be a premium, and they're snatching up quarterbacks at retail price and higher. I'm gonna I got a shelf QB shot. I got to go more something traditional, bite somebody else's style. But the reason why I do QB shop is because there's a limited number of There's one QB per team. There's some teams that have 2 running backs. There's some teams with like 5 freaking wide receivers. The Lions suck, and they got 3 legit wide receivers. One of them you can get for a freaking dollar. Quarterbacks is going to be the position on the most premium, and a lot of quarterbacks a lot of teams don't have a quarterback that you're going to want to start in fantasy. Like, how many quarterbacks are you going to be excited about starting as your QB2 in a super flex league, let alone your backup quarterback? Because if you don't have three quarterbacks in a super flex league, what are you going to do in a bye? What are you doing on a bye week? What are you doing if somebody gets injured and all that? You're going to be stuck. You're going to be starting to running back, a wide receiver, hoping for a miracle against a loaded squad. So QB shop quarterbacks is that position that I believe heads are going to be most interested in purchasing from me on the trade block. It's a trade strategy. So, and the second one, if you have like a 3 running back lineup, you could do like a running back heavy one, because the starting running backs get very scarce, right? So I do that. I get as many quarterbacks as possible. Like in QB shop, what I'll do is I'll try to get one stud quarterback in that range from as low as Jalen Hurts to obviously the GOAT of Josh Allen, and I'll try to get them at retail or below retail, right around value, and then I'm going to tier all the way down in QB shop. I'm going to get 6 quarterbacks or more. That's what I'm doing, and what I'm going to start doing is right after the draft. So I'm gonna try to sell my top of my GOAT. I'm gonna try to sell them for about the value of 3 first-round picks if I can. If it's a little lower than that, whatever, good. And then I'm just gonna start the ball rolling, because once the pool sees somebody purchase Josh Allen from me, and then I'm throwing somebody else up there, they're like, dang, okay, I got to get my quarterback. I got 2 quarterbacks. I got to get it. And I'm offering good prices. I'm not trying to rip somebody off, right? If somebody's saying, damn, Trader Joe just freaking absolutely took so and so on this deal, they're not going to want to trade with Trader Joe then. Then it's like, okay, well, I got one good deal, but now the market's kind of like, I see what's up with what I see what Trader's doing. Trader's getting over on these guys. So I want to do market fair deal. I want to do fair deals, and I want to get a whole bunch of them. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to replace that quarterback with first-round picks and another quarterback and a player that I can use. So I'm getting a piece that I can use, and I'm getting a pick. Yep. And that's the whole strategy behind it. You can do that with receivers. You can do that with running backs. But with quarterbacks, I think you got a better chance. So it's a trader strategy. My lineup, you've seen it. Sometimes it looks kind of really slanted after the draft. It looks just QB heavy, and I'm not sure. But after 8-9 trades, it's like, oh, shoot, that could compete. You know what I mean? QB shop, Trader Joe. If you want to use that, holler at your boy. Make sure you use the freaking QB shop name if you take it from this program. So it looks like we have about 4 more minutes for this version. I wanted to what else would you school somebody on, just in a free format? They're coming in to do an auction. What other advice would you have for them, to make sure that, like, what sharp nugget can you drop on them in conclusion?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that goes really unnoticed is scoring, right? I know you're generally, the leagues that we do have consistent scoring, but you could be joining a different league that has a little different scoring, and you got to pay attention to it, right? 0.5 TE premium, tight end premium, is different than 0.75, right? And in the 0.5 formats, I value tight ends a bit less, right? And I do that because I know I could get someone like Evan Ingram or Noah Fant, or even Austin Hooper, who I'm all over this year, right?
Nice.
They're dudes that can easily put up 200 fantasy points in a 0.5 TE premium, right? It's doable. And these are dudes that go for under $5, right?
Yeah.
And the amount of money you would spend on like a tier 2 tight end is maybe like $14, right? I'm talking about Hawk, Waller, etc., right?
Sure.
These are dudes that will score, I guess, 50 to 75 more points, but that's extra $10. With the extra $10, you could get a wide receiver like Marquise Brown, Devontae Smith, Elijah Moore. That's easily worth a first-round pick, right? Right after and they're younger too. So yeah, you kind of got to be smart with where you're spending your money and on what positions, right? Depending on the roster format, the scoring, and you got to look at other teams, right? Like, for example, right, if someone gets Dalvin Cook, right, and you have a feeling that they're going to bid on Madison, maybe time when you nominate a player like that, right? If you have a little more budget than them and you want them to run out of budget sooner, like, for example, with Stan, right? I know what player Stan gets, right? And
Yeah.
I will nominate Juju at like $8 because I know he'll spend $9 at least.
That's fire. That's fire, bro. I love that.
And,
I love
and,
that.
and speaking on this, Dez found out I started doing this, and he started doing it to me because he noticed I had Eckler, and he nominated Isaiah Spiller for $5 because he knew I would bid. Right, so I
Wow.
ended up with Isaiah Spiller for $6, which is not the best value, but I'm okay with because
Better to get that there than on to try to get it on the trade where he's
yeah,
going to believe you
exactly,
because
for
he
like a
knows
first
you
round.
need. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
So you got to take it to that level and be strategic. You got to play mind games with the
That's
draft.
fire. That's
But
fire. That's fire. Yeah. And so yeah, the format's very important. So if you're running a 4 point per passing touchdown league or a 5 point per passing touchdown league, your Josh Allen, your Jalen Hurts, your Lamar Jackson, those are the quarterbacks that I'm going to be looking for the most. I don't really want those stationary guys that are throwing a lot
yeah,
of touchdown passes. If they're not getting them with their legs, I'm going to get an extra. Like Josh Allen's going to score 10 touchdowns on the ground. There's going to be worth 6 points, and your touchdowns is going to be worth freaking 4 when you play me. So
exactly.
that's something I wanna consider.
Yeah,
All right, yo. So hey, we're going to have a whole series full of this stuff, and
yeah, yeah.
it's going to be organized for y'all to be able to pump up your auction game on any format. We rocking on Sleeper. Come see us on Sleeper. The handle for my man AkiRed is at AKIRED. Holler at us on the format. Come rock with us in one of our leagues. We always got one going. Aki, how many drafts do we got like a draft going tonight? That's crazy to
Yeah,
people.
it's crazy, man. And they come to us. You're like, you got a draft going? We'll set one right up. So,
Yeah.
holla at us. Hopefully we could get in some drafts. And for our next session, we'll get some drafting numbers up for you guys to get a sense of what these values look like. But yeah, let's do it.
Awesome, man. Yeah. I mean, but right now, after watching this, you'll be able to put some of this into effect. We recommend the whole series because you're going to be able to see how we've put these kind of strategies in effect on the board in real time with the actual numbers for y'all to check out. But right now, holler at us, man. We might have a draft tonight. Peace.